Hey guys, and welcome to the 10 at 10 for September 20th of 2022. I'm Matt.
And I'm Brian, and it's crazy, right? We're in middle September here. I mean, this is getting wild. Fall's just around the corner. I'm pretty excited about today's lineup. Seems like every week we're topping the last one. I know I say that a lot, but it's just always that way. We've got an awesome lineup here for you guys, so make sure you sign up for that weekly email. That's going to let you know the full listing of what we have here. We just have the 10 on the table here, but we're going to have 20 listed on that Tuesday at 10 a.m. So this is just going to be the 10 that we're going to highlight today.
Hey guys, I'm here with my Maple brother from another mother. Again, we're bringing the 10 at 10 to you. Shout out to our international community. Hey guys, I know we can't ship internationally, but we love you guys watching our videos, whether it's from South Wales or Australia. We're always getting comments where people are checking in from, and it means the world to us.
Yeah,
like, it really does.
You know, it's a really cool thing. I think it's amazing how plants can connect people all over the world. I mean, that's kind of what drives me and it gives me that passion about plants, is it helps me connect with people in such a unique way. And we really appreciate everybody tuning in. It seems like every week we get more and more people coming in and chiming in the live chat, which is really fun to communicate that way with you guys about plants and what we got going on.
So let us know in the comment section where you're watching from today. You know, it's a small world, you always find out, but it's even a smaller world when you get into plants.
Yeah,
like, it's really fun what kind of community we're building there. So we greatly appreciate you. Now guys, this is our 10 at 10 for September 20th again. So these sizes are indicative of September 20th of 2022. So if you're watching this video a year later, sizes can be slightly larger or slightly smaller on these, but this is what we have in September of 2022. Now, I think we've got a killer lineup here today. We've kind of mixed it up a little bit. We're doing some really unique stuff. First up on the table, we've got Acer palmatum Horizontalis. Now, I said shout out to our international community. This one actually hails from Australia. So this is a unique seedling that was selected in Australia for a Ryusin style shape. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw out there, it's from Australia, so it's very, very heat tolerant.
Right.
This one has a little bit more ruffled leaf than Ryusin, and a little bit different shape as well.
Yeah, that's one thing really cool about this too, especially for those plant collectors out there. This is something that's not very common in production here in the U.S. So it's definitely one that you won't see around very often. And I really love the leaf texture on this. I was capturing that this spring. It has a very finely serrated edge on that leaf, and just has a very nice green color. Great green bark on that as well to kind of accentuate that overall green texture and color to it. And just great habit for sure. Really
bright orangey red fall color. This one's very unique. I do believe this is the first time this one's ever been offered inside the United States, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, why this is called Horizontalis, that name fits exactly what it does. This one's gonna be very, very wide. I've seen a mature specimen of this. There's some pictures of this that are super wide. You can get a very wide specimen of this, and if you stake it, you certainly can get a little bit more Shishigashira type shape to it, but without staking it, this one's gonna be super horizontal. It makes a perfect little ground cover, stays flat and low, exceptionally heat tolerant, but I think this is gonna be a popular one for any of the people with the hanging baskets, but especially people that wanna grow a Ryusin or Shishigashira style plant and make that kind of that slow mop type ground cover where it's low and wide. This is one of the best candidates for that you could grow.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great characteristics about this plant is there's so many different ways to grow it. You know, sometimes when you think of like an upright or something like that, it's really only one way to grow it unless you're going to bonsai it or something like that. But there's just so many different ways you can grow that with staking or just letting it spread out as a ground cover.
It's super unique. I'd like to see a bonsai done with this one maybe.
Yeah.
Think of this kind of like Shishigashira, but with a lot of the width just going as wide as possible. So you're gonna get if you don't stake it, you're gonna get one of the flattest shaped Japanese maples possible.
Yeah, I think this is one great for those plant collectors out there looking for something really special.
It's different. You know, it's not in the Pendulous Treasures collection, but I don't think anybody else has offered this one before.
So next up, we've got Acer palmatum St. Michael. This is a really cool plant that I'm just kind of starting to learn about. One of the things when I first came out here and kind of got to know some of the plants out in your nursery here, I've had so many maples over the years, but there's so many more to discover, right? I mean, there's always different introductions that I hadn't heard about or seen or grown in my garden. So I'm always really excited. I see a tag and I say, St. Michael, what's that? You know, like I got to know a little more about this.
Yeah, really great plant. This was one found by our friend Bob McCaffrey He found this one in New Jersey. The original plant was actually removed, so it was a good thing Bob got grafts of it before that happened. This was found as a witch's broom on a large red. Now, Bob doesn't like to call them witch's brooms. I like his description. Most of Bob's introductions are from the Bible or from Catholicism.
Yeah.
And with St. Michael the Archangel, it's an interesting one. It has a little something extra. It's going to be more of like a 4x5 broom, so more of that ball shape. They're a little vigorous at first, but they slow down and densen up, kind of more like a Shayna in its design, but with some different colors. It's a little bit more brick red with a green vein early. Really an excellent plant. And I like that Bob calls them blessings. I mean, that makes, all his are blessings instead of witches' brooms.
I think that's such a great concept, I'm always driving around looking at different maples, hoping I can find a blessing out there somewhere. Because it's just a great way to kind of describe that gift that little mutation out there can create a different structure, a different plant that can get out there in the nursery and allow people to enjoy it. That small, compact size. It fits in so many different spaces in your garden. And I think it's just a great way to represent that as a blessing.
Very new plant, hasn't been offered a lot before. Again, it might be the first time this one's offered again. We've sold a few here at MrMaple, but I don't know that it's been on our website before. Really unique. Love that green veining in each leaf too. It's not reticulated, but it kind of gives you a little something different going on in the veining there in the early spring. And just a cool plant. I really like Bob too. He's such a nice, generous guy. We've been growing a lot of his introductions and kind of picking some of our favorites to get out to you guys first.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, some of those other, I found a kind of a section where you guys had some of those blessings, and it was cool to kind of discover those and go through. I tried to capture a bunch of them so that when we do get them into production, we've got kind of a representation of those, all the different characteristics that they have. But St. Michael, I mean, doesn't get any cooler than that, right?
Pretty cool plant, pretty cool plant. Now, next up on the table, we've got a classic that you guys know this one, Shishigashira.
I mean, Shishigashira, probably one of my favorites. I mean, a lot of people say that, but for good reason. A great color on this in the fall. Just the most amazing, like fire engine, orange and reds and yellows. I mean, I've seen it go a lot of different ways, but just one of my favorites.
I think this has made every video we make. It's in our bonsai video, it's in our heat tolerant video, it's in our classics video. Like, it's in a lot of different videos, and for good reason. A lot of people know this one under the term lion's head. Lion's head, you've probably heard us say a lot here on our channel, is a specific lion from Japanese literature. Now, the Shishigashira is actually the female lion. There's a Ojishi, which is the male lion, and then Brian recently grabbed up a Mujishi, which is the cub. So we'll be offering all of those here. They are very similar. The Ojishi is a little flatter, and then the Mujishi is the tiniest version of this. But by far the most popular in the trade and probably the most sought after is the Shishigashira.
Yeah, I love its just like rigid structure that it has. It just has this great texture with the leaves and the structure combined on that. I just think, it really makes a presence when it, especially once it gets some size to that. I've seen one over at your parents' garden, and it just has such a kind of a regal appearance to it. Just great texture overall, and just something that looks completely different than anything else you're going to have around it. So it contrasts well with so many different things.
It's funny, it's been around since the 1700s, but it's still one that people are surprised as a Japanese maple that aren't true collectors. Like, sometimes even master gardeners will be like, what is this plant? This doesn't look like what I think of as a Japanese maple. A little bit more outside the box. Classic, though, for what it brings to the table, whether containerized or in the ground. Shishigashira, you're gonna love this one.
Definitely. So next up on the list here, we've got Acer palmatum Kurenai jishi. Now this kind of represents the red lion.
You got to put it in that family.
Got to put it in that family. I think it's such a cool thing to have this this red form and this very compact and dense structure that it has. Kind of that Shishigashira, kind of that Makawa, it kind of falls
between the two.
In between those two things, and with that red color, that's kind of like the holy grail of that style of plant. You get that really bold red when it first leaves out in the spring. Really cool plant.
And when people come to us and they say they want the red lion, we know what they're looking for. This always sought after for bonsai, container culture. It's a little dwarfer than Shishigashira, typically at 4 to 5 feet, even in 10 years, a little bit more compact. Excellent tree. Now, all the ones we talked about so far, zones 5 through 9, no exception with this one. This is going to work zones 5 through 9. Make sure if you're going into container, really good drainage, always paramount there. But Kurenai jishi, classic. We're actually here in the, in September, like I was saying, so the greenest season for this one. It actually gets kind of a nice orangey red. It almost mirrors that Shishigashira a little bit. They're different colors, but you get more orange than you would expect from a red like this. Really nice in the fall color. Really nice in that spring when it is a dark red. Again, right now, one of our greenest seasons, but hey, we don't stop making content. We get videos out to you during every season, even our greenest time of the year.
Right. I think one of the things that really sets it apart from like the Shishigashira is the leaf structure on it. The Shishigashira, you get that kind of crinkled, serrated edge, crinkled leaf. This one, you kind of get more of a ruffled, rounded, wavy style leaf. It kind of curls and cups, and each leaf kind of has its own little curl and curve to it. I really love the texture of this plant. I got a nice good size one from you recently.
Oh yeah.
And I plan on pairing it out in my garden. I've got a Abby's Weeping, I've got a Kurenai jishi, and then I've got a Japanese Princess. And I was thinking, man, those three together, like, I mean, that's a hit, home run hit right there, right?
Okay, so next up on the table, we got Acer palmatum Nebula. Definitely check out our video on new ghosts. We kind of dig into some of the new ghosts. Talon Buchholz quit putting the term ghost on there, but these are in that same lineage of the new ghost and as original ghost series, but with some really fun, exciting new ones. I love Nebula. I think there's even a little bit more to the name once you kind of dig into it. I've told a story before, but I was at a science museum, and the guy outside was actually looking at a nebula, and he showed it to me, and I really liked how it was lighter in the middle, darker on the outside, and I'm like, that makes so much sense now. It makes that name a little bit more poetic.
I absolutely love Talon Buchholz's introductions.
Right.
I mean, it seems like he always just has that eye for something special, and the reticulated types is kind of his specialty. He has so many different kinds, but Nebula definitely does stand out from the pack. Just looking at its spring color when it first leaves out, I mean, it is definitely something that's like out of this world. Like you think of it with a Nebula, and one of the things I always use to describe for a lot of these is like alien skin, right? It's just kind of a weird way to describe it, but it's the only way that makes sense because it's got this amazing color and like multicolor effect, kind of this weird sheen to it. It's just got everything you think of, but it's just out of this world.
Super cool reticulated form. Pair this with Black Hole. You can kind of get a cosmic theme going with the Black Hole there. Nebula and Black Hole being the cosmic maples there. Maybe you can put another one in there to match with that, but really a fun one. I love Nebula. Again, light purple in the early spring, kind of a fiery red in the fall.
Yeah.
Overall, awesome plant to be growing.
Definitely. Love that plant. So next up, we've got kind of the super classic, right? I mean, Shiraname, Acer palmatum Shiraname. I mean, this thing dates back to the 1700s. I mean, this is like one of the oldest cultivars when you think of Japanese maples, and I love that about that. There's something special about that kind of brings you back in time and just thinking about how a lot of these plants originated. And Shiraname is definitely one that kind of begins that story.
It's always high on my list. I joke about this because when we were doing Growing a Greener World, we were talking about it off camera, shooting B-roll, but all that audio made it into the episode. So everybody was after it when it aired on PBS. I learned about this tree very early on in my days of taking over MrMaple. So I always like to go and ask people, what's your favorite tree? And one of our mentors and a lady who's helped us so much here at the nursery is Elizabeth Mundy. And Elizabeth ran Acer Acres for many years. And she said her favorite plant was Acer palmatum Shiraname. I said, well, if it's your favorite plant, I'm learning all about it.
We got to grow it,
I got the biggest one possible from it. It was probably like back in 07, 08. And I started grafting and growing this plant, and it has not disappointed. This tree goes through so many amazing spring changes, from pinks to reds to yellows, and then kind of a lighter green late summer. And the fall color kind of mirrors that back the other way. It's not uncommon for it to be like apricot peach colored in the fall, getting bolder and bolder as the season gets later. And just some really fun changes to it. I would consider it one of the more colorful maples. And it's kind of one of those hidden treasures where it's like, it's been around as long as Shishigashira, but it's certainly not as well known amongst your general public as something like Lion's Head. But Shiraname's right up there for me.
It definitely, it does have kind of that multicolor effect in spring. You have all this transition of color. And like I said, it continues that into the fall. I love the leaf shape on this too. It's got nicely divided lobes. just overall texture and color and shape. It's just a solid tree. Any collector out there who just loves the story and the history of Japanese maples,
Right.
I think this is definitely one you should have in your collection.
Pretty awesome tree to be growing there. So next up, we've got another Talon Buchholz introduction. That's Acer palmatum Celebration. Now, Talon once candidly told me and Tim that this may be the best tree he ever introduced. So coming from him, that means a lot. He said this might be his favorite plant he's ever put a name on, Acer palmatum Celebration. That was all I needed. I was off to the races. I was grafting as many of them as possible. Like, I heard you loud and clear. We're getting out on this one. Think of this one as the neon pink purple ghost.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the pinkest version of a Ghost series style. Again, one of the new ghosts, but I like to compare this one to very similar to Purple Ghost in its growth, but neon pink.
Yeah, I grew this one in Oklahoma. I absolutely love that pink color out there. I mean, it rivaled any other pink variety that you can think of. Just has that bright pink color, and then that veining in it. You know, that reticulation is just so strong. I mean, even now in the summer color, you still have that strong variegation and reticulation in that leaf. And it's just a great plant overall to give you so many different variations of color and texture.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's something you want to take pictures of, you know,
Right.
really capture that moment where it's just in that full pink color with the reticulated veins in that. I just love this plant.
Pair this with something like Summer Gold,
Yeah.
Orange Dream, and a Dragon Master. It's gonna just shock the senses
Yeah.
for the color changes there. Very defined etching in each reticulated vein with that neon pink color. Goes to kind of a bold pink red in the fall as well. Again, our least eventful time of the year right now, kind of storing that chlorophyll right before that fall color, so you get a little bit greener right now. But these have been in heavy shade too. Excellent tree. In the ground, they're even a little bit pinker now, and you get that kind of fiery pink new growth
That
flushes
new
late
growth is
summer, which
amazing on that.
really pop.
It really is a great plant, I think. So next up here, this is one that I just love the way this thing looks. Acer palmatum Patsy.
Okay, so another really fun maple. I always think about the stories of how they came to me when
Right.
I find a tree
Yeah.
I really like. Now, Patsy is Del Lauch's wife. So Del Lauch, we've talked about him a lot on this channel. Lillian from Lillian's Jewel's grandfather.
Right.
Del Lauch's named so many plants from Beni Hoshi to Emerald Lace to Akakawa Hime. The guy's got a home run list of plants that he's introduced. Patsy was one of his last introductions before he passed. I went and visited Del and I got Patsy from him, and it just really was cool. It's not a lace leaf, but it kind of looks like an upright lace leaf.
Right.
It's very conical in its shape. It's kind of a small upright. It feels to me almost like a Seryu offshoot, but it's not.
Right.
It's just so heavily matsamuried it looks like a lace
Right.
leaf. And I love it gets some green and some really bright green yellow colors in it too.
I absolutely love hearing the history behind these plants. I've learned so much listening to Matt and Tim out here, and I'm always excited to just hear the stories behind these plants and how they were found and who produced them. This is just such a great plant. I love the texture that it gives. It has this really serrated edge to that leaf, deeply divided lobes. I mean, if you didn't know, you would think it would be a dissected,
Right,
but
right.
it's not. And it has a nice kind of red to purple border when it first comes out in the spring as well, which gives it something a little extra. I mean, it just has so many qualities. I think as a collector, I'm always looking for something really
Right.
interesting, really different. I think this provides that.
Really nice shape. It's very dense and multi-stemmed. It kind of reminds me of a dwarfer, more serrated form of something like Kihachijo, and it certainly mirrors a little bit of that in its fall color. It's
Right.
a really nice yellow with kind of some orange in
Right.
there. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a seedling from Kihachijo that Del selected, but awesome colors for it, and really, great candidate for a container garden here
Yeah,
if you're looking
perfect
for a
for that.
small tree to mirror some of your lace leaves, but a little bit different shape and texture. Patsy's going to look awesome in a container. Again, this is going to work zones 5 through 9. Make sure with this one you got really good drainage too. You don't want it to bog your wet feet, but awesome, small, nice shaped plant for sure.
Absolutely. Love that.
Too big to put back into the lineup here.
Right.
So next up, we've got Acer palmatum Flushing. Now this is another classic Japanese maple making its way back onto the site. This is from Flushing, New York. Now, at early times, Bloodgood Nurseries was located in Flushing, New York. a lot of maples were coming into the country through the port there in New York and making their way for sale there in Flushing. Now, I haven't been able to determine whether this is a tree from Flushing that was very popular because of its fire glow-esque. It's like a pink red too in the spring. I haven't noted if it's originally from Flushing Nursery, but I would assume so.
Right.
And I've actually been to Flushing, New York, and tried to track down the original plant. Definitely where it gets its origins from, and it's one that's kind of I would say a contemporary of Acer palmatum bloodgood.
Sure. Yeah, and shout out to all our friends out in New York. This is that, classic red upright. I think if you're looking for something just a little bit variance from that bloodgood or Emperor One, the Flushing kind of gives you something a little extra with that. And just having that association, the history behind it, I think is a really cool part of it as well. Great red color on that. Nice maroon color here in the summer, and then a bright scarlet red in the fall. So,
oh yeah. Now I will say with this one, it comes from Flushing, New York, and that's where it gets the name. But those secondary flushes in the summer, I've got one in the display garden over at my mom's garden there on Maplewood Gardens, and mom and dad's garden there, and it is a bright pink red. Yeah. So I mean, it has that flushing of growth that you think of as like, wow, this is probably named for the flush of new growth because it's that intense pink red.
It's like a name within the name.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the inception of Japanese maples.
Very cool.
Awesome plant though, and a nice piece of maple history there to be growing too. I mean, if you've got bloodgood in the garden, it's fun to add. It's contemporary there.
For sure.
We like those older ones, even that are outside the box. Sometimes there's a really cool plant that's kind of lost in the trade, and we like to kind of get those back going in the trade again.
So last but not least, we have Acer palmatum, Eye of the Tiger.
Dun, 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 dun. All right, dun, dun. So we actually named this one here at our nursery. Talon was telling me how rarely seed are viable from Tiger Rose. And Tiger Rose, a lot of times the seed doesn't come up, and he was going through all the Ghost series looking for stuff. That's another early on one that he named that didn't get, right after Mikazuki, it would be one of another Ghost almost. But he went with Tiger Rose on that one. And so I was going through seedlings from Tiger Rose looking for reticulated interest, and this lace leaf seedling caught mine and Tim's eye so much. We were probably listening to Eye of the Tiger when we come up with a name on it, but being from Tiger Rose, it really interested us. Really nice pink flushes, especially in the early spring. Kind of gives you some two-tone, it's in that ornatum style family, but with a little bit different colors.
And it's got kind of this wild, crazy shape to it as well. It gets more wide than it does tall, so you got this nice spreading and arching habit to it. And just that overall texture and shape, it just really captures your eye, you know what I mean? It's the Eye of the Tiger. I love that name, the way it describes this plant. And it gives you so many different ways to showcase how different Japanese maples can be. If you compare this to something like the Flushing we just talked about, I mean, Eye of the Tiger is just such a great overall plant. I love everything about it.
It's not uncommon for this to have a tiger eye, like kind of what you feel of in the summer. So like the older growth gets a little more olive, and then those new growth peak over the top, making like splots of bright pink over top of that. It's a unique color. It really stands out amongst lace leaves. Like Brian was saying, wider than tall. It's not uncommon for this one to be 3 feet tall and 6 feet wide, so a little bit more flat, which makes it great for that windowsill where you don't want something huge, but you kind of want a little bit of some plants there that are going to top out at a smaller height. Well, Eye of the Tiger makes a great pairing for that. And really some unique shapes. We talk about Germain's gyration being one of the most contorted. I think this could rival it for its unique contorted corkscrewing shapes in there.
Yeah. Well, before I came out here and worked for MrMaple, I mean, I was you guys' biggest fan, right? And so this being a MrMaple introduction, me and Wesley are always talking about it too. It's like, we got to have the MrMaple collection.
Right.
Anything that you guys introduce. We're always excited to have that in our collection, and this is no exception, the Eye of the Tiger.
I think you guys will like this one. Give it a chance. It's a really unique one, and excellent. It works great in the ground, but I really like it for a container. It's small and wide shape, really makes it unique.
Yeah, you can get that structure of it a little higher too, and enjoy that structure of it overall.
So some really cool ones, guys. This is our 10 at 10 for September 20th. I can't believe we're already up to September 20th. Man. I mean, fall color's right around the corner. We're going to be peeking into that bright fall color blazes very soon. So stay tuned with us. We're not going to quit making content. We'll be showing you lots of great fall color going on here at MrMaple.
Yeah, let us know in the comments below what your favorite is of the lineup here. I'm always like curious what really piques your interest. I'm a maple collector, you're a collector, so we're always like curious what really is hitting out there, what people are interested, what sparks your interest. We have such an amazing lineup here. I mean, I think any of these, of this group here definitely deserves a spot in a collector's garden.
Some new ones. A lot of these haven't been listed, and a lot of them people might not be familiar with, so it might take a little research, but check these out. I know some of them, like that Horizontalis, ain't gonna last long.
I was sitting there thinking, how cool is that? We've got, down here on the end, we've got some new things that really haven't been released here in America much at all. A
few things that have been around for hundreds of years.
Right, then we've got some classics that, classics from Japan here. Talon Buckholtz introduction. We have a MrMaple introduction. So many varieties here. It's an awesome way to showcase what Japanese maples can be and what they can do in your garden.
Right. I was thinking to myself, we always ask about pairings and stuff. And like there's so many pairings on this one too. Like I could easily say Shishigashira and Red Lion right here too. So you got Lion's Head and Red Lion. I mean, there's so many pairings here. You could go with the flat ones with the Horizontalis. And the Eye of the Tiger for some of those real wide, low shapes. But yeah, there's a lot going on here. Let us know in the comment section below what your favorite tree is on the 10 at 10. If you'd like to guess what sells out first, that's always a popular guess, it seems to. We really appreciate you guys joining that premiere. We, Brian and I, and we're talking to him to get in there more too, as he's getting some time away from shipping to do it. We're dragging him into that chat. So join the community there. That chat's really fun in the premieres. We like to get on there. These air at 9 a.m. Again, the 10 at 10 airs at 10 a.m. Eastern on MrMaple.com. These are just 10 of the 20 new plants we'll be bringing you today.
Yeah, and I was sitting here thinking that we have the MrMaple Friends group on Facebook. I would really love to see, if you have any of these plants and you have them out in your landscape, share that with us, because I'm always excited to see a lot of these out in the landscape. We have them here set up on the table, but it's a lot cooler to see them set up in a landscape somewhere where you can see them planted out. So if you have that, share some pictures with us. We're always in the group trying to interact with you guys. I love meeting and chatting with other collectors out there. So we really appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate everything that you do for this channel, for MrMaple, and have a great day.
Take care.
And God bless.